next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check I know. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Go too rough, so you know, girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wonder waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma no be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. I said nobody feel make me feel the way you do. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check I know. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. They never know. They never know. My lady, you know me no forgive up on you never. Wanna be with you forever, 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 forever. Oh baby, where we they go? Now forward and far, backward never. Them they pray make we run down never, 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 never. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check I know. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. They never know. They never know. Without you, baby, the journey go too rough. So you know, girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wonder waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma no be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. I said nobody feel make me feel the way you do. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know. Money go check I know. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move, they never know. They never know.
everybody, check 1, 2. Hi, this is the Hohner YouTube channel. We are back with another Hohner Live. Thank you for tuning in. It's Thursday evening here in Germany, 9 p.m. Let us know from where you're tuning in the chat. I can also already see some messages. Feel free to ask questions today. I'm excited about today's conversation. This is the first time we talk to each other. So please welcome with me from upstate New York, Jonah Fox. Thank you for joining us. For people who don't know you, you are one of the biggest YouTube harmonica teachers out there right now. So yeah, if you're hanging out on YouTube, anybody out there, I'm sure you saw Jonah before. And obviously that's where I also discovered you. So, when did you start doing these videos with the harmonica?
Yeah, I think it was 2020. I began this. I kind of had a weird entry point into the harmonica. I'm a guitarist.
Yeah, we can kind of see that.
Psychosomatic pain condition in both of my arms.
Yeah.
I couldn't play guitar, and I had this whole teaching practice. Probably like
Interesting, yeah. Oh, people say they cannot hear you. Why is that? But that's my problem.
Let me change my microphone. Okay, can you hear me now?
I'm not sure if that's a problem on your side. Please go back to the other microphone. Yeah, I'm gonna check, because sometimes it's terrible with OBS, and there are like updates, and then things are different, you know? So let me check. Maybe I gotta choose this one. Can you say something, again? Okay, that one doesn't work. I'm gonna switch back. Because I can actually see I'm using the desktop audio here, and I can see that we got some input into OBS. But please, everybody, let me know if there's an update. Otherwise, I'm gonna add another audio input here and choose the software that I'm using. Let's see what happens. Can you try this again?
Yep, check mic. Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Something?
Okay, now this is the only option I think I have. Everybody let us know in the chat.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Can you hear us now?
Good. Yep.
Thumbs up in the chat. Now, okay.
Hey, awesome. Cool.
Interesting. Yeah, because like at some point I had to change this whole thing back to desktop audio as the audio input device. But before that, I always had to pick the software that I'm using to pick up the audio. And now it's the other way around. Like something always changes with these OBS updates.
Technology is unpredictable. That's for sure.
So, yeah, we were just starting out, and you told us how you got started in 2020 with the harmonica, and that you're basically a guitarist.
Yeah. So let me take it from there. So I never thought I'd be a harmonica player. Really, that was not my thing. I don't know. I'm kind of curious. How do most people that you talk to, how did they get into harmonica? Because what I hear from my students is that it's like, hey, I love this thing. I was listening to it all my life, and I finally decided to do it. Is that the experience that you hear in general?
I'm not sure. I actually heard something like you told before, like people had some injury, played other instruments, and they thought, oh yeah, I can definitely play harmonica even without my hands, because I could do this with the playing in a rack and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's something I heard
definitely.
before. That's interesting. But I mean, for me personally, I never really picked It was an accident, kind of, you know. I never predicted it at all. And I feel like nowadays, also for younger people, it's weird. Like, how are you going to start out with the harmonica? Like, because it's not really on the radio, and there are not too many players representing the instrument in a big way. It has to be some sort of a YouTube TikTok discovery.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. I think it's kind of unfortunate because I think harmonica obviously is a beautiful instrument. I think it's amazingly fun to play, and it is out there in songs, especially in the past. But these days, yeah, not really a thing. So I'm also curious on how people get into it.
Yeah,
but just
let us
going
know in the
little
chat, everybody.
Yeah. So going into how I got into this, so just because my audio wasn't working before. So I'm started out as a guitarist as a teenager. I actually got my first harmonica when I was 17. I remember seeing the movie Crossroads, and I saw the harmonica player there, and I'm like, ooh, that's cool. Got a harmonica and realized, I bet this is hard. It doesn't seem like it should be from an outsider's perspective, but I got into it. It was like, this is hard. Put it down for a long time, and I was making music and on guitar. And so I ended up really enjoying teaching, and I decided that I was going to go and get a degree in music and become like a full-time guitar instructor. That was my whole life's plan, right? And so I'm going in that direction. Got the degree and start teaching. I have a studio of maybe like 40 students locally where I was. And all of a sudden, my arms started just really hurting. Like it was terrible. I couldn't pick up things. I couldn't press buttons. And of course, I couldn't press strings down. And it was like I went through maybe a year where my life was just falling apart. Like, students were leaving week after week. I got a bunch of surgeries. I have a nasty like S-shaped scar on my arm. So it was a really weird place when I picked up the harmonica, because it was like, I can't do this anymore. And I found that harmonica that I picked up when I was 17, and I'm like, hey, I wonder what about this, and started playing, and eventually once I figured it out, and I have all this music background, so it didn't take me nearly as long, I think, as most people do to get competent at it, right? And I, eventually started posting on Instagram. I have an Instagram account that I don't really maintain anymore. It's at Jonah's Blues on Instagram. But I had like maybe 5K followers on that, and I just kept doing it and posting videos.
I didn't even know about that because I didn't find a name, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was before I did all this, and I don't keep up with it really because I don't find it to be that useful, and I'd rather post videos to my YouTube channel, But so I started doing that and realized that there was, people watching and people were interested, and I was like, hey, let me go try teaching again. So I just started making videos, no idea what I was doing, and I think that's how we all pretty much start, something like YouTube especially. It's just like, hey, let's see what happens, And I'm about a little short of 20K subs on YouTube right now, and I'm really enjoying it. So
that's so cool, because that's also the best thing, like starting to share what you've learned so far as early as possible. Like even if you don't feel competent in the beginning, like it's always good to have that challenge, and it makes you learn too. Like just talking about that stuff.
Oh,
and teaching.
Totally. Teaching is the best way to learn. If you're watching this out there and you want to see if you actually understand literally anything, but let's keep it focused on harmonica right now.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have somebody to teach and talk to. Like, and I find this, doing YouTube, just the act of like writing out something to explain to somebody else, what it does is it kind of forces you to be like, okay, do I know this enough to actually tell it to another human being? And it's a really great way to learn. And so I find that it's, a really cool position that I'm in right now, because this is what I do. I think about harmonica every day and I teach it. And it's just making me sharper and sharper, which is really fun.
That's cool. Yeah. At the same time, for a lot of people, it's obviously the blues. Because, that's like one of the few musical styles where the harmonica is like heavily heavy part of. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I love the blues. I play. I don't have a blues band or anything, but I play at blues jams and play a lot of it myself, and that's kind of how I got into this. I was a blues guitarist when I started, but I can't say that's my biggest focus as far as my own like musical aspirations. It's not necessarily the blues, but I love it, and that's generally what I talk to most people about, because you're right, that's what most people think of when they think of the harmonica. I find that harmonica is actually extremely versatile. You know, you can use it in so many different styles and applications that people really just don't think of. So that's kind of where I find, you know, things to be a little bit more interesting, but I definitely keep it, you know, more focused to the blues when I'm teaching, for sure.
Yeah, we got some different comments. Yeah, O'Neill says nobody thinks they're going to be a harmonica player. Matthew McKinley says, I heard Adam Gussel play and wanted to learn. Chuck Stanford says, can't sing, terrible voice. So, old school Adam's awesome. Yeah, interesting. You sent me this cool press pic with this weird looking harmonica, and I couldn't identify it. Like, what's the harmonica you held into the camera there? It had like a red black kind of comb.
That is an Arkia signature. Dropped it. Arkia signature. So it's pretty cool. They're pricey. First of all, they're pretty expensive compared to pretty much all harp. It's like kind of the level of like a custom harp.
I never heard of them.
They're out of France. They're, you know, real high-end harmonica company, and their big thing is that they set their harmonicas up for overblows out of the box. And I find that they're, you know, pretty reliable. You know, once you learn how to overblow, you could really do it on, you know, a lot of different harmonicas. It stops becoming that much of a challenge. But when you're in the very beginning, it's hard to get them to work at all, you know? And so I really like these harmonicas that are set up for overblows. And so that's the Arkia signature. Ooh, that one's a little crunchy. So yeah.
So that's one that you didn't touch at all, and it's just out of the box, basically.
Yeah. So I really like it. I've talked to the owner of that company a couple times, and they got some really cool things going on. Like they have this machine that will, you know, it'll test the reed, and it'll bend it up and down so to get it perfectly gapped, all automated. And I think they're just pretty cool. I definitely support those guys. They make some great harmonicas. That's probably the main harmonicas that I play at this point, but I have a whole, you know, varied set. My main case, I got a whole bunch of different ones. I like having the variety. Oh yeah. You know,
that looks pretty colorful.
Yeah. I don't want a whole set of the same thing. It gets kind of boring for me. I like all the variations in them for sure.
I mean, still a valid question. So O'Neill says, after your last couple of reviews, is the crossover still your favorite?
It depends. Like price wise, I think that at that like $90 or so tier, I think it's definitely the one that I would still choose. You know, I've tried a lot of harmonicas at this point, and I think that for the average person, yeah, I would say something like a crossover would be probably where I would direct most people for like a good harmonica. I still really like, you know, Seidels. Obviously I like the Arkia. As far as the top of all of them that I've tried in total, I'd probably put that one that I was just talking about at the very top. But again, that's like $175 US. So it's not cheap. They have a $90 Arkia Origin that is, I would still prefer the crossover rather than that. I think it's really good. It allows you to do overblows, but it uses Kongsheng reeds and plates, and they're not my favorite. I think they're pretty good, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do another big tier list video this year. So if you want to see all of my updated choices, I need to think about it, you know. So it'll be out there in a couple months.
That's cool. Yeah, people are doing tier lists of everything nowadays.
Yeah. I do, you know, review videos, and I think the tier lists are kind of fun because they could be quite long. And, you know, the thing is when you give like a top 10 list or something like that, there's so much that needs to be skipped. And sometimes, you know, you want to like include ones like, hey, I know a lot of people like this harmonica, and I think it's like pretty good, so maybe it goes in. But I find that the tier list allows you to kind of sort things a little bit better and really give a clear shot for all the different harmonicas that you could potentially play. So that's why I'm only done one in the past, but I'm planning on another one this year because I've probably picked up another 20 or so harmonicas since then. So I have a lot more to talk about. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm sure that your guitar playing just influenced your harmonica playing a lot. Like, how about the other way around? Like, did your harmonica playing inform your guitar playing in some kind of way?
Not really. In that, like, on guitar, I'm a singer-songwriter and a recording artist. I produce music. I do that whole thing. I haven't been. I have an album on Spotify under Jonah Fox. I'm going to be launching a new EP or an album next year.
Okay.
But the kind of music that I play isn't exactly the best. I mean, it fits with harmonica, but one thing that's helped on harmonica is I spent a lot more time on really just working out the mechanics and the scales, and so all of that stuff kind of helps. But I was a pretty competent guitar player coming into this, and I don't mostly acoustic guitar. I don't really play a lot of electric these days. I really like electric, but I do less of it because harmonica is just more fun and it feels more natural at this point for that kind of lead style playing. So that's kind of where it fits for me. But I find that on the flip side, I'll play harmonica all the time, and I'll find that, like, ooh, this melody came from this one band that I heard 15 years ago. I find almost a constant process of like digging. A lot of my inspirations, even when it comes to harmonica, are from my previous history as a guitar player, which is kind of cool.
Okay, yeah.
A little different, yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of harmonica on your upcoming EP?
Yes, for sure, yeah. That's I don't want to put any like dates or anything out there. I haven't started recording yet, but I have the song, so.
Oh yeah. How do you go about the recording process with harmonica? Like, how do you like to get
that's
that
a good
signal
question.
into your DAW?
Yeah, it's harmonica. I'd be open to any suggestions, but I go straight into an audio interface. I got a Steinberg UR22 MK2, so I do that, and I record in Ableton Live because I produce music. Yeah. I produce music outside of just doing, harmonica recordings. If I was just recording harmonica, I'd probably use something like Reaper or something. And I record into a Sennheiser E835 microphone. It's pretty good. I like it better than like kind of the price equivalent Shure microphones and things like that. And but a lot of this background, because I can record and fully mix music and master music, so I have all this knowledge, and so I have a pretty detailed effects chain on my harmonica that I run it through, compressors and auto levelers and all sorts of kind of things.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, Shane is tuning in. Nice. Congrats on your marathon. That's amazing. Can you tell us more about the signal chain you're going through, like the plugins you like to use? Because I feel I do these harmonica challenges every month, and the harmonica recording quality could be better. There could be some lessons on how to process the harmonica sound.
It's not something that I see really anybody talking about. So yeah, I'm definitely happy to share, because I know it's pretty confusing. I find that when you record harmonica directly in, first of all, it really wants to be through a dynamic. Sorry about that. It really wants to be through a dynamic microphone, not a condenser microphone. So not one of these that I'm speaking through right now, but like a Shure or something that's usually used for an instrument or a voice, like a stage microphone, right? And so, but even then, I find that in almost all cases, the sound of the harmonica is very thin. Do you have that experience too?
Yeah, I mean, it's full of high frequencies and overtones.
Yeah. So the challenge is to balance out that thinness. And so what I do, and it's a little bit different depending on like what key I'm using or what harmonica I'm using. Like I kind of work with that specific sound. But generally my workflow is that I put an EQ on where I have a boost at around like the low mids. I can't think of the frequency offhand, but I put like maybe like a 20 dB boost down kind of in the low mids area to get a little bit more body with the harmonica. I generally don't touch the upper frequencies because I like how they sound. Aside from that, I think there's two things that really make or a couple things that I do, but Compression is huge on harmonica. So if you're watching out there, you don't know what compression is. Essentially, it is an automated kind of volume knob. You can kind of think of it on. It kind of like squishes the sound down. It makes everything more uniform, and then it kind of raises everything up. And so it takes a sound that, if there's big dynamic changes, it gets really loud and really quiet. It makes the quiet parts louder. And it makes the louder parts, depending on how you have it set up, could be potentially a little quieter. And then so it makes it more consistent as the tone overall. The compressor that I use is a paid one. It's a Clev Grand Corv Pressor. That's probably my main compressor. Sometimes I don't do the compressor and I use an auto leveling program. So there's something in mixing. Yeah. This kind of came from my mixing knowledge where when I'm a singer, I'm a singer-songwriter, so I sing, and I learned when I was making music that it's very important to, and this very tedious manual process of, anytime the volume and the vocals is low and you kind of draw in an automation that goes up a little higher so everything kind of evens out. And there's some programs that will do this for you. Waves has one called Vocal Writer, I think, but I use Melda Productions Auto Volume. And if you want the secret sauce for making harmonica sound big, that's it. Melda Productions Auto Volume. And you just put it on there. Really, any of the settings sound good, and it's just the sound is all really big. The only downside is when you use something like that, a compressor, an auto leveler, is that you get quieter signals. So, on harmonica, of course, we get a lot of mouth noises. It's just a natural part of playing. When you're playing through a microphone on stage, people don't really hear it, and if they do, it's so minor that no one really thinks about it. When
also,
you're recording,
it's live, like live,
right?
It's
It's live.
yeah.
People expect a little bit of messiness, right?
Yeah.
But when you're recording, it wants to be clean and crisp. And so, if I really care, like if it's something like I want this video to sound good, I might manually go through there and find all the little cracks and pops and mouth noises and delete them out. But it's very time consuming and tedious, and I'd probably only really do it if I was releasing music and I'm like, or making a big YouTube video that I'm like, this is a song I'm putting out and I really want people to listen to it and I want it to be perfect, but it is very hard to record because of all these little problems, for sure.
But yeah, it's funny because like in the end it's basically like the post-production process is basically the same as if you were working with vocals.
Very similar, very similar.
It is very similar because like also like with all the productions you hear out there, like they do that manual stuff. They will lower the volume of the little breaths and all the little noises and stuff before they do all the other processing, And if you want to go down that road, you should do that with harmonica too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important if you want something to be amazing. Like if you're making recordings, like you got to do that. But I think for most people, if you're making real recordings, just go to a studio. I've done the home recording thing for a long time. It's fun. If you want to just have the flexibility of like, hey, I'm going to make a music video today, like awesome. It's really great for that. All the mixing stuff, mixing's hard, and I don't know exactly the kind of people who are watching this, but I know the people that I work with on harmonica, a lot of times they're on the older side. A lot of this tech stuff is kind of tricky. It is. It's just it's very tricky. And I would say if you really want to make good harmonica recordings, go to a studio with someone who's worked with a harmonica player before. That will save you a lot of grief. But you can definitely learn how to do it on your own and make something really cool. That's something I really focus on for myself. I don't do a lot of there's people like, I don't know, Will Wild, let's say, who does a lot of really big music videos. I'm doing Freebird or whatever. I haven't really done too much of that. A lot of times just for copyright reasons because YouTube is finicky, But for that kind of stuff, really amazing to just make something good. But, if you want to like actually be on a song or something, it's a lot of effort, I don't know how many people are going to go through the kind of audio chain stuff that I do.
Yeah. I wanna put out a video on like how to record the harmonica and like actually process it and all the plugins that could be used. There's so many valid.
What do you do?
I record through this, and after I just compress a lot, and I cut a lot of the highs, depending on the key harmonica I'm playing.
Sure.
And I put like I mix in like a little very warm plate reverb.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
And I actually also in parallel I do some widening a little, so it sounds a little bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
And like
cool.
also
Yeah,
with like backing tracks, I do some, or like if I record along to like other songs that are already like mastered, whatever, I just use some sidechain tricks and stuff. Like, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I've dabbled in all that. Totally understand it. I keep my setup relatively simple, so I can just like turn a couple things on.
But yeah, I got this preset saved, and I just throw it on.
There you go. Yeah. That's the way
And
to
it
do
usually works pretty well. It's just like after that, I'm just like leveling, and then that's it. So yeah. Chris Altona says, "Are you from Altona?" There's like a district here in Hamburg where I live. Jonah is a fantastic teacher and versatile harmonica player. I've progressed so much after working with him. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris is a student in I run a harmonica coaching program. So this is something a little different.
He's not from Germany.
No, he's one of my students. He happened to show up, and that's awesome. Hi, Chris. I run most people in this industry do courses, inexpensive courses, and I did that for a little while, and I decided that it's just more enjoyable for me to work with people directly in some form. And so instead of doing that, I shut my previous course down, and I am instead running a coaching program where I have a ton of material online, but I also meet up with a variety of students on group classes every week, and we practice together and we improvise together. And so that's really what I'm doing in my business right now. And Chris is one of my students in that program.
Yeah. Oh man, I actually forgot about a plugin that I sometimes use. If I don't use this instrument, Antares has this mic mod plugin. So I just pretend recording through this. Like I can be like, oh yeah, this was a SM58, but I wanted to sound like a Sennheiser 441,
Cool. Yeah, that's
and
interesting.
then it adjusts like the
that.
EQ curve and stuff according to the response of those microphones. Yeah, that was very useful. I did that last month for the first time because I was like traveling. I could only record with a simple 58, But I could make it sound as if I would have been here, which is cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Technology is really becoming pretty amazing as far as some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like on guitar, just this week I discovered a free plugin. It works on harmonica. I've tried it.
Yeah.
So someone can check this out, called a Neural Amp Modeler. And so it's like uses like AI neural network kind of stuff and to model the responses of various. This is a guitar plugin, right? So various guitar amps and effects and stuff like that. And there's a couple of versions of it that are kind of pretty pre-set up, like a Tonocracy is one. It's free, totally free. So you just download it and you can use it on harmonica and it sounds pretty good. You got to like adjust some of the, the bass needs to be really risen and the treble needs to be cut down pretty dramatically, but it's actually a really solid alternative for someone who doesn't want to, mic an amplifier or something if you want that kind of a tone.
Yeah, is that like a free thing by Neural DSP?
I don't know. I'm not sure who that's by.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, those virtual guitar amplifiers are going crazy, right? They are really good.
Yeah, I've kind of moved away from using amps in general, which is not really what I expected. When I started really getting into the harmonic, I would, amplify all the time. And I really enjoy being acoustic a lot, but I run most of my stuff through a pedal board that uses a lot of, it's a mix, but it's like a bunch of lone wolf pedals and a bunch of other things like that. At the end, there's a harp attack, and that's kind of my amp now. So I can plug it into audio interface and my monitors, and so there's my amp sound when I perform. It's so nice because being a guitarist, I used to go on stage and lug heavy amps and stuff, and now I just bring a pedal board, and it's so easy. I love the how harmonica is so portable, and that even extends to the gear, which is kind of cool. It's not even just the size of the harmonica itself. I don't even use amplifiers anymore, which is kind of neat. That's even a possibility. That wasn't really a thing that people were doing, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that, So some of the technology out there is pretty wild.
Yeah, that's something I don't appreciate enough sometimes, I think. Like just being able to carry this in my backpack,
Oh, it's a big deal. I mean, doing guitar, it'd be lugging heavy amps all over the place.
I played some concerts with a marimba player.
Oh my God,
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I have friends who are upright bass players, and they're like, I have to lug this giant thing around, and then they have to get an amp for that sometimes too, and it's kind of a nightmare. And I just love that we could just take a couple of these. I keep 2 of these in a little double case and keep kind of have some on me at all times, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. Shane asks, I'm curious about Jonah's practice routine. Does he play chromatic harmonica?
Yeah, I don't play chromatic. I've tried it. I guess the real reason I don't play is because I got some shoulder issues, and having my hand up there to do the button, it's not for me. And I really love the diatonic. I love how small it is. So that's what I do. As far as my practice routine goes, I have a system that I've been building for, I don't know, a couple of years now at the very least. And I'm a huge stickler on scales. I push them almost to an annoying level. If you've watched my harmonica channel, you'll know I'm just really big into, you got to drill scales. Because I know in my own experience on the harmonica, on the guitar, it was a complete game changer. And I see it in my students, because I do this when I work with people. And, in the beginning, they're like, I can't really get this. And then over time, they start getting better, start figuring it out. And then once they can play their scales at like a decent tempo, all of a sudden, hey, they can improvise. Hey, they can learn songs. Like, I think it's a huge part of my practice. So that's, a big thing of what I do. Aside from that, I do a lot of improv. I improvise, like backing tracks, that kind of stuff. I do that almost every day. It's not always for a long time, and sometimes I'll have big marathon sessions, recording sessions, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I make a point to play, and so that's a big thing. I have some kind of models of how I use improvising as a means of progression, which is something I could talk about. Don't need to though. So I really learned how to play harmonica through really that scales and improvising. And it's not like the only thing that I do. I still learn songs on a pretty regular basis, though. And when I do, I use transcription programs like AnyTune, and I tab things out by ear, because I think one of the biggest downsides of the harmonica is that there's not a lot of well tabbed out music.
That's true.
Yeah. What's your experience talking to people like, because it's hard when you get into harmonica. I can think of my experience on other instruments, right? And, I play a little piano, I play guitar, and like piano, it's just book after book after book, right? Guitar, there's some websites that have just millions of songs, and they're amazingly worked out. There's video games like Rocksmith.
Very detailed stuff. You can find detailed transcriptions of whatever, like Alan Holdsworth songs,
Yeah. It's amazing how much stuff is out there. But on harmonica, it's kind of challenging. There are some people that do tabs on YouTube and stuff like that, and that's okay. But I find that, when you learn from other people's tabs on harmonica, there's so much subtlety that happens when we play harp. There's so many just little things, little bend scoops, the ways that you approach things. I feel like there's a ton of that stuff gets lost in the first place when you're just reading from tabs. But also the way that we tab our music out is just so casual and low effort, And I get it, because it's there, if I'm coming from like guitar, there's so much competition. Low effort stuff just gets pushed by the wayside. No one pays attention to it, right? But on harmonica, honestly, that's all we got. Really, it's like you have harptabs.com, and you have a handful of books.
There are so many mistakes on there.
It's so many. And I think I work with students sometimes, and I'll ask them like, hey, so how have you been learning, right? And they're like, oh yeah, so I'm watching YouTube videos, and I learn like a short song, do this one of yours, one of Adam Gussow's. I'm like doing that. and then I go on harptabs.com. I'm like trying to and it just knowing if you've never experienced that website, it's just a harmonica tabbing website. The problem is all the tabs are made by sometimes you can tell real amateurs that really just don't understand how to convey things. There's no sense of rhythm. It's usually just notes on top of words. But, as you know, most real harmonica, what I consider real harmonica playing is usually like blues songs and like things like people, you can't put a number on top of a word because in a lot of cases there are words that match up with the notes, right? And it's just a ridiculously hard way to approach it. And it makes this particular challenge because I feel like if you want to learn things in the way that every other instrumentalist learns, I mean, if you really think about it, harmonica players, most of them that I talk to, learn through scales, improvisation, and studying recordings. That seems to be how most people approach it. And that's just not how any other musician really approaches it. It really, maybe lead guitarists have a similar thing, but then they have a ton of music. There's solos after solos they can learn. There's you could do it for the rest of your life and learn 2 songs every day, and you'll never run out of songs. So it's a challenge on this instrument, and that's where courses and programs and stuff come in, but there's not a perfect solution. I think the perfect solution is to get used to learning by ear, listening to recordings, writing things down, understanding things, because that's the only way that you can really hear things to the level that you can actually pick them up in an authentic way, in my experience.
I feel like on harmonica there are very few players out there who can also just very musically interpret melodies that are usually sung.
Yes. Yeah, because, I mean, there's a lot of challenges, right, that are very specific to the harmonica, as in, we have all these different positions, right? And I'm someone, I generally don't spend all of my time in second position, which is a lot of people do. I really go, I haven't gone full Howard Levy, okay? But, I use, 4th position, 5th position, 12th position, I use modes and all this stuff. So each position plays very differently, right? And so, if you're trying to make an arrangement of like a vocal song, you have so many options. What position are you going to play and what octave are you playing it in? Is that octave work? Because, hey, what happens if there's a chromatic note? Can you overblow? Can you make it work there? And so there's just a lot of inherent challenges that come with that. So it's tough, when you want to learn real songs like, hey, I love this song, used to listen to it all the time. Can I do the vocal part? Well, maybe you might be able to kind of stumble your way through it, but to really make like a really good arrangement, it takes a lot of pre-planning and because harmonica, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's so limited in some ways, with the notes are just hidden. The note pattern is so odd. I mean, it's natural to me now, but when I explain this to people and I don't know if you've ever saw, there's a person on YouTube that does these harmonica videos, like there's a Indira Sefer one where you can see the notes, it's like a red circle and it's kind of moving through all the holes, and it's, if you actually
like
look
through
at
the layout of the instrument, right?
And it's constantly moving around, so you can see all those little subtleties and where the chords come in and they bend up, and if you look at it from someone who's uninitiated, it looks like pure madness. It really does.
Yeah.
So
last night I talked to this my good friend from Argentina, great harmonica player Mariano Masolo. He told me about this website that actually does exactly what you were talking about, but I forgot the name, I think.
I wonder if it works well. I mean, I'd be interested in something that does that.
Yeah, because like I was like, he showed me some of his instruction material, and he also had this thing going on screen and stuff. And I always wanted to incorporate this, like doing live streams, teaching on Skype and stuff like that. And that website is really good. Like some harmonica players from Argentina built the website. You can pick the key of the instrument and also the scale if you wanted to highlight that.
Cool.
And then it just picks up the signal from your microphone.
Yeah,
and-
well, I kind of have something like that. I use, there's some like bending training kind of apps. Like I am partial to Harp Ninja was one that I got when I was kind of working. I still, it's a little bit more expensive, or it has a price where there's some others that are free, right? But that one for me is, so it'll show you kind of moving around.
But it's just an app, right? You can't really use it on your computer.
Well, no, somewhat. I have a Mac, so it's an iPad app, and you can run iPad apps on a Mac. So if you're on a PC, it would be a little tough.
Okay.
I don't think it's doable. Well, it might be doable if you use like an Android emulator potentially. But so it does exist, and you can use it. I don't know exactly the one that those guys in Argentina use. I'd be curious if you find.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how I can find out. But yeah, I'm gonna find it.
Yeah. Cool.
Let's try this. Never did this before. We're gonna do some either or questions.
Sure.
So, I thought of some stuff. Let's see. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, you can answer quickly, or you can also explain a little more if you want to.
All right, I'm game.
First one. Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Beatles 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I've learned a lot of Beatles songs in my day. I really love the Beatles.
Nice. Coffee or tea? What's your favorite drink before a performance?
Before a performance? Oh, you're killing me. Tea, water.
Okay.
Tea, I suppose. I do perform pretty regularly, and I feel like coffee, because I sing as well. Coffee really dries out the vocal cords. It's not what you should be doing, I think, before playing. Not. I mean, I don't know about harmonica, but definitely singing. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. City or countryside? Where do you feel more inspired to play?
More inspired to play countryside for sure. I'm not a huge city person. I'm in New York State, and a lot of people see New York where I'm in New York. Oh, you're in Manhattan. Everyone just thinks, hey, you're in Manhattan. Yeah. And it's not really it's not my scene. I would love the performance opportunities that would come from being in a big city, but the reality is I grew up in a relatively small city. My city's like 80,000 people or so, and I live near the Adirondack Mountains in New York State, which is a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. Just mountains and rivers and lakes and waterfalls, and so I regularly will go up there as far as inspiration. That's it for me. I find that in the city, there's a lot of stress, as in, even if you're in a house or an apartment, very often you're annoying people. And there's a problem there. And it's fun to do like, street performing and stuff like that. But yeah, nature for me all the way.
Okay. Prefer to be a one-hit wonder or a slow-burning musical genius?
Okay. Probably a slow-burning musical genius, because I see some of these one-hit wonder. I mean, the thing is, if you're a one-hit wonder, you have a hit. And so these people can use one song to sustain a whole touring career, which is amazing and good for them. But I write songs pretty frequently, and I'm looking forward to the day where all of that's out there and building up. So that's definitely the realm that I'm aiming for sure. But hey, if there was a hit, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Early riser or night owl? When do you prefer to play?
At nighttime for sure. Most gigs are at night. I mostly play at night. Yeah, that's it.
Writing songs or interpreting classics? What do you enjoy more?
Yeah, I write songs. On harmonica, I don't write as many like full tunes as a lot of people do. I just do a lot of, improv and that kind of stuff. But I play harmonica in some groups, and so I'm writing parts and stuff in there. But I'm a songwriter. I've probably written more songs than a lot of people. I've probably written over 1,000 songs myself. That was my complete passion in life. I'd write a song almost every day on guitar before I ever got into this thing. So, yeah.
Prefer a vintage harmonica or the latest high-tech version?
Latest high-tech version. Yeah, I like I like harmonicas that function really, really well. And so if I can take a vintage, an old like a classic marine band or something and do the adjustment so it plays really great. But I just find that there's a lot of newer innovations that are really interesting, like the Archaea that I have in my hand with how airtight and how overblowable it is. We were talking before we started recording today that what's the name of that JDR harmonica with the slide?
Trochilus.
That's a tough name. Something the fact that there are these new harmonicas coming to the market that have these innovations, I think that's really amazing. One thing that kind of irks me about the harmonica in some ways is that it's so old-fashioned, and it's not a bad thing necessarily, but there's a lot of resistance to innovation and trying new things. I find, I mean, I don't know if that's the universal experience, but I find that people like how they play, and anything that's kind of new tunings, new gimmicks, it's usually kind of thrown by the wayside because, and there's some practical reasons, if you have a harmonica, it's like that trunkless, right? The diatonic with the slide that you can bend. Well, you can't get used to really playing that if you're like a performer, unless you get a whole set of them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like having the difference in playability between all of these different harmonicas in my set. So I definitely aim for the newer ones. Recently, I did a review this week talking about the Manji Sky. No one's really mentioned this before, but this one's really cool. I'm a guitar player, and it's like the equivalent of playing on lighter strings on guitar. The reeds are just so. And it might not sound like much, but it's honestly feels like half the force that you normally need to use. Not like harmonica playing and bending requires a lot of force, but you realize how much you're actually using when you switch to something that barely uses any of it. So I love that. I say definitely I want more companies coming up with cool and interesting things.
Yeah. Acoustic or electric harmonica?
When I perform, it's all amplified. But when I am at home, I play a lot of acoustic. I love wah. It's just, it can be just, it's so expressive, and it feels like kind of a bummer missing out on that when I'm playing amplified. So, and practicality purposes, playing shows or something, electric all the way. Occasionally I'll break off and I'll do a song right into the vocal mic or something.
Yeah. Barbecue or veggie picnic? What's your preferred pre-performance meal?
Probably neither, being honest, because I have acid reflux. That's not going to work right before. And
but in general, like it's good to perform a little hungry and rather eat after the concert.
For sure, yeah. It's I think a lot of people underestimate.
It's the worst if you eat like too much right before performance.
Yeah, could be a problem. A lot of people underestimate how athletic it is to play an instrument, and even something. It's like this is like, it feels like the least athletic instrument ever, because it's like you're not even doing much with your body, but it really is a physical thing. And I find that with harmonica, a lot of times I'll play 3-hour shows, right? And if you ever played a long set like that, you'll realize the breathing gets tough. It's definitely a physically challenging thing to do. So anything that gets in the way of that, I steer clear of, for sure.
Yeah, I actually wonder like how many calories I burn playing like a 90-minute show. Because I'm also like,
be cool to figure out.
I'm sweating like crazy usually because we play some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Shane is also in the chat. Like, maybe what's your experience? Is there a way of measuring this?
I think so.
I mean, yeah, kind of, but like you can't really measure it yourself perfectly, I guess. Yeah. I got a last one. Vinyl records or digital streaming? How do you prefer to listen to harmonica music?
Digital. I never really, I'm obviously younger. I'm in my mid-30s, and I never really got into vinyls. I mean, I get it. I've listened to vinyls. I love that warmth and that crackle, but I'm kind of a mixed bag on this. I love how accessible music is on something like Spotify. I love it. It's, but it kind of cheapens music a little bit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it used to be where people would collect music and you'd have a single record and you'd listen to it over and over again. I don't know pretty much anyone aside from musicians who do that anymore. And I think that's a shame, because I mean, as someone who produces music, I mean, there's a lot of intention that goes into making a whole album and, all these different callbacks and riffs that keep coming up. And there's things that are really cool about that I feel like it's a little diminished with this online way of using everything. And I would definitely take the convenience, any day, but it's definitely changed things, I think, in a way that's not necessarily positive.
Okay. Oh yeah, Shane answered. Oh yeah, man, wearing a heart rate monitor during the show and connecting to a Garmin. Yeah, out of curiosity, I did it at a show a few months ago. For a 2-hour show, it was somewhere in the ballpark of 350 to 500 calories. Okay.
All right, good to know. Don't need to work on it anymore. You just got to play the harp. That's the answer.
Nice. Yeah. But yeah, I also, like, when I started now listening to a lot of music, I always listened to a lot of music, like even before harmonica and all of that. I was a huge music fan. I knew what was hip and on the charts and all the artists, and yeah, checked out like the UK charts and stuff like that. And yeah, that was like a beautiful experience, like at least getting a CD, not a vinyl at that point. Mm-hmm. And listening to that whole thing and really knowing all the songs by heart at some point. And there was like also me sitting in my room and like just doing some puzzles or something and listening to this album. And that was all I needed. And nowadays you need like all the stimulation from like different sources.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. The act of sitting down and listening to a record, I mean, it even changes how people learn music, I would have to imagine. Yeah. Because, if you buy a CD or a record and you put that on, let's say whatever, you get a Butterfield record, okay, and you put that on, well, you're hearing the same songs the whole time. And then it's like the drive to go learn some of these and like actually rise to that level, I think is more tangible when you have real people that you're studying and you're listening to their music over and over and over. And it's just because there's so much and everything's in playlists and organized in this particular way that people don't really do that. So I feel like music kind of just becomes a cheaper experience. And that means that you're not listening to the same songs a lot. And so I feel like even the drive to learn things is a little diminished because, so, if you're listening to this and you don't want to be like that, just start listening to albums. Just start, actually finding, in the realm of harmonica, find a harmonica player you like, go listen to Jason Ritchie, put on an album and listen to the whole thing, and listen to it over a couple days and a couple weeks. And, it sinks into your bones in a different way than if you just like listen to one song and it passes on. As I was saying earlier, when on harmonica, I often will like come up on these little different riffs and ideas that I learned from guitar or even just passively listening to music. And I feel like that just wouldn't happen if you didn't listen to the same songs over and over over a long enough period of time.
Yeah. Do you still listen to harmonica music or do you rather listen to non-harmonica stuff?
No, I listen to harmonica music, but I came into this in a weird way, right? I was not a giant harmonica fan when I started. I knew of the people. I've heard of Little Walter. I was aware. And, obviously since then, I've gotten much deeper into that, learning songs myself and teaching songs to students. And I really enjoy it, but I probably listen to non-harmonica music. I'm actually an oil painter. So that's really where I listen to music. I will do an oil painting and I'll have some tunes blaring and yeah, that's what I like. It's often not harmonica, but if I'm really trying to get super inspired or I'm trying to, put something new, I want new ideas. I definitely, it's very valuable absorbing other people's playing.
Yeah. How big of a role actually played YouTube in your case? Just like also learning the instrument. For me, it was huge.
Yeah.
Did you check out some tutorials or
say that again?
Did you check out some tutorials or what was like the biggest help on that path?
It actually was more of a detriment than a help. And it was kind of odd. It's like when I started out when I picked it up when I was 17. I remember I think at the time I think he was available. It's been a while. Watching some Gusau videos. Okay, so there was a little bit of that influence. And then when I got into harmonica later, after I stopped playing guitar, I found myself. It almost felt like I lost a lot of my skills. Like I knew that I still had this sense of rhythm and all this kind of stuff, but I was, one thing I find that's very detrimental about the learning process on YouTube, and it's people obviously experience this with my stuff too, and I wish this wasn't the case, but it just is that your learning is often, unless you come into it with a plan and like an order of things, right? Your learning is really organized by an algorithm. It's like, hey, what channel are you watching recently? Hey, here's a video of theirs. Or like, yeah, someone just put out a new video. Here's that. Yeah. And I just find that that's not a good way to learn. And I know this is weird coming from someone who makes YouTube educational videos, right? But I mean, I do it because I want to help people. I love this instrument. I want to share it. And I want ways for the people who are really into it to find me, But I found that when I was starting to learn, I was kind of doing the thing where I was like learning a short song over here, and this day I'd learn about this scale, and I'd learn. But the thing that was missing for me, and the thing that might be missing for you if you're watching this out there, is that there wasn't a lot of consistency in what I did every day. Because my harmonica practice for a solid year when I was beginning was essentially I'd pick up my harmonica and I'd be like, okay, let's load up YouTube. And then YouTube comes up and I find a video. And then I kind of go in that direction. If I'm lucky, if I find a video that I connect with. And often I wouldn't find a video I'd connect with. So I'd spend an hour going through YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. And I do very little playing. Yeah. And I was doing this for months, right? And I was singing in a choir at the time. And I go to this choir rehearsal. I'm like playing harmonica in the back. And someone in the choir is like, hey, you should go perform for us. Like, you're doing this cool thing. Like, go show us what you're doing. And so I play there. And the whole group just laughed at me. It was just like, ah, you suck, Like, it was awful. And I had to reflect on, like, what am I, like, I'm a musician. I can do this. What am I actually, how am I studying? And I was like, I'm not doing anything consistently every day because I'm just going on YouTube and I'm like ping-ponging from different video to video to video. And I talk to a lot of my students, and that's almost universally the story. Is that they found me because they're in that process of bouncing from YouTube video to YouTube video. And, there's a lot of people that will get started and you'll get past that beginner stage, right? But then you get stuck because you have to have some real, you have to either intuitively understand it, you have to either have a talent for it, or you have to work hard. And YouTube doesn't do a great job at teaching you how to do the work. There's people who will tell you, hey, do this. But then at the same time, you have 10 other people saying, hey, do that. And I find it very confusing. So helpful, yes. Did I learn things? Yes. Do I think it's the way that I recommend most people go through it? I'm not sure. I still want you to watch my videos. But, there's just know that there's some inherent challenges in that process.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to get lost on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, even if you are like a professional musician or whatever, like you watch stuff that's maybe connected to your job basically, but that's just something in your mind. Like you are like, oh yeah, this is kind of connected to what I do. This is a 1 hour video and like, and then you're watching that whole thing, but it doesn't really help at all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem, because it's just very easy when you're not working with a human who can see you, listen to you, and be like, hey, what are you doing? What are you actually doing with your time? Yeah. I was saying earlier, I really push scales in a big way, right? But even that, when I work with students, I'll tell them, hey, here's the scales. Here's how you practice them. I have a automated scale practice app called Harp Trainer as well, which is actually on sale today. You go to bit.ly/Harp Trainer. You can check that out. But even that, right? So I put that out there, and I find that, you actually have to sit down with people and be like, is this working? Or you have to approach the process in the right way. And YouTube will tell you, here's how you approach the process. But what it won't give you is any feedback if you're doing things correctly. that's where I find the danger in it.
Yeah. I just wanted to go to that page. Is that right?
Yeah, bit.ly/harp And so Harp Trainer is a program where it has the main harmonica scales, first through third positions, and you can just play the video and you can go practice along with it. And so it's available at from like 40 beats per minute up to 260, I think is how I currently have it set up. And so it's just way visual. You have the notes on the screen. You hear a drone, which kind of centers you in that key,
Okay.
and you hear a digital sound of all the notes as you're going. And that's been out of the things that I've promoted in the past. This has been the one that everyone's like, I love this. I'm using it every day. So yeah, if you want to check it out, bit.ly/harp trainer.
Cool. All right. Yeah. I think we went through some cool stuff. Oh yeah, there's the website for the harmonica layout. I'm gonna send it to you too.
Sure, yeah.
soplometroescuela.ba.com. Yeah, I mean
All
it's
right.
Spanish, but
That's new to me for sure.
doesn't matter. It's still like the same set of notes on there.
Yeah. I'm really curious. I'm going to check it out afterwards.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us today. That was cool.
Thank you for having me. It was very nice to meet you.
Everybody check out the description box below. You can find Jonah's YouTube there, subscribe to his channel, and check out all the other stuff, the Harmonica Revolution, and I will do the Twitch Harmonica Challenge tomorrow on Twitch. We got the RnB Harmonica Challenge going on. You can still upload or rather post your recording, your submission on the Harmonica's Discord server. Also linked in the description box below. You can win one of these. The Hohner CX12, the black version of this. A really cool instrument. I like to play it on stage. Jonah also likes to play it.
Yeah, I got one too.
You can get one too. So, yeah, the next Hohner Live will be on, don't want to lie, I think on May 16th. Yeah. I think yeah. And Monique from Brazil, she's getting bigger and bigger on Instagram right now, is going to join us. So, that will be cool. See you then, everybody, or see you tomorrow on Twitch. Thank you, Jonah, for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Have a nice evening, everybody, or yeah, whatever, wherever you are. Ciao for now.
My lady, you know me, no fi give up on you never. Wanna be with you forever, 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 forever. Oh baby, where we they go? Now forward and far, backward never. Them they pray make we run down never, 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 never. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move they never know, they never know. Money go check I know. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move they never know, they never know. They never know. They never know. Without you, baby, the journey go too rough. So you know, girl, I be feeling this love. Even when I'm down, you wanna waiting this up. It's not blessing, I'ma not be luck. Baby, nobody feel day like you. Rara, rara. I said nobody feel make me feel the way you do. Rara, rara. I'ma get that low. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move they never know, they never know. Money go check I know. Girl, you the best I know. Our next move they never know.